Forward to the cloud, and then I am going to start sharing the screen. Okay, here we go. Welcome everybody to the March 30th iteration of the MicroProfile live Hangout. Did someone paste a link to the minutes in the chat? I have not checked.
I did. It's fine.
Thank
Go
you
ahead.
very much, Amelia. Please click on the link for everyone that's on the call and add your name to the list of attendees, contributors, and it's everyone's job to, share taking notes, but I think I might be more aggressive about that myself during the calls, which may slow down the call a little bit, but let's see, this meeting is being recorded, and the video along with the chat will be uploaded to YouTube. So just be aware of that. So we started to put together, actually Amelia put together kind of this new agenda minute template, and if you want to, you can click on the link, but it's basically what you're going to see below, to match the items in the program plan, right? So we still have our releases section, we still have our marketing section, but we also kind of have this program plan tracking section. So thanks to Amelia for doing that. We'll try it out here and see how it goes. What I did do here, not to catch anybody off guard, is I brought together undiscussed items that have been kind of held over in past meetings under releases. So I thought I would bring that forward. So Andy, is there anything that you want to discuss here? Or do you just kind of want to leave this in the community section?
Yeah, no, I'd like to discuss it if it's all right.
Sure.
So this kind of came about a few weeks ago when there's just been a lot of discussion lately about the release process and how challenging it is, and even just to get out a minor release or a service release, it can be kind of difficult and frustrating for some of us involved. And I know, speaking for myself, I'd much rather be writing code than dealing with all the process involved with CCR records and dealing with posting links and all getting votes and all that kind of stuff. So what I'd proposed was just, I think there are people out there who are more wired for, I guess, project management or release engineers or something like that. And I was just kind of wondering, could we have somebody like that kind of as their contribution to MicroProfile to the community? Could they basically help in this regard, and just when REST client needs a new release, can we just kind of turn it over to that person and say, okay, we think we've done all the technical work, can you make this happen? And obviously there's going to be some interaction between the technical development team and the project manager, release architect or whatever, but just something to kind of make it, I don't know, play to our strengths, I guess, right? Where the technical people can stay technical, and somebody with more of a release background or a project management background can make our lives easier. So I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Comments, anyone? Do they think that this role is needed as well?
I will go in here. Andy, I am involved in that conversation with Scott, right? And I agree with Scott that it is not that we need the person because it will take only a few hours. It is that we have not written the documentation. So Scott is writing the wiki to help on this matter so that you and others like you won't have to be, oh my God, what do I have to do, right? We need to be better at executing things without feeling how you are feeling, the frustration of navigating something that is so new that we never had before. And I think what is important on the thread you brought in is because you're frustrated, and being frustrated and stating it in the open is powerful. So we're doing our best to fix it, but Scott is not here. So literally, I think Kevin is also involved in another thread where we asked him to document, and he's working on it. But I can't speak for him on his status.
Right.
We already have a wiki already, so it's
Yeah.
basically the wiki document step by step. I think what Andy is saying is basically creating the major thing is create a CCR is difficult. However, with the release engineering, I don't think that release engineer is able to create a CCR. You still need to involve the spec team to get a compatible implementation and do a release and etc.
Do we then have basically two things? One is the CCR and the other is just pressing the buttons to get the release done? Can we split it like that?
Yeah, I think the CCR basically is kind of, basically people find it quite difficult, quite challenging. And so that's why I brought the other item is about how can we simplify the CCR.
Automate.
Not sure the automate. And the other thing is basically is kind of you stage out and then trying to release something. And then I think as part of the conversation, I think that's further improved. So could a release could do a release based on RC. However, for some product and etc. If we are saying okay, you have to do a beta release, but I'm speaking for Liberty, you need to 4 weeks, we do a release and etc. So I'm thinking probably just a daily release and etc. And in the future, if when the beta is out, we can update our CCR to use a beta.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to try and do here, I'm struggling a little bit here where we kind of wanted to have this be a status meeting, and I know I opened it up for discussion. So I think what I might try to do is reserve the discussions toward the end of the call. I think Andy's point is valid, and I don't want to necessarily squash the discussion, but anything discussion oriented, I'm kind of hoping we could move toward the end of the call. Is that a good idea?
Really good idea. Plus one.
Okay, so I'd like to get through kind of anything around releases and release status and everything first. And so I'm going to kind of break my own rule very briefly. So let's move this bullet to the end of the call. And I'll move that bullet that you see on a potential. This is just an idea I had around a MicroProfile 4.1 release. I'll move this to the end as well. And now kind of get to, I guess, status around each of the sections, categories of program plan items that we have to tackle. So last week we agreed we were all going to kind of move the action items that were in slide format into GitHub. And I should have had a link here actually to GitHub. I'll do that here in a second. And so I guess what I'd like to ask for each kind of category leads, have the items been moved to GitHub? If not, then kind of a schedule for doing so. And if there's any highlights that you want to point out for those things that have moved. So I guess the first one up is community outreach. So Chandra, Kevin, or Emerson. And while you guys discuss that, I'm going to try and pull up the GitHub.
John, I'm bringing the GitHub for you. You don't have to do that.
So I don't think much has been done here. I know I was trying to find Chandra on Slack since he suggested the Slack communications, but I don't see him registered in our organization channel yet.
I'll fix that today. Sorry, my apologies.
Nope, no problem. It's not like I had a lot of time anyway. I was just going to ping you to find out how we wanted to move forward. So unless Emerson has something, I don't think we have a whole lot of input for this section this week.
No, actually my side, but what I'm trying to do is trying to focus on the Spanish community. And I think the best way I can help with that, we can help with that, is providing resources in other language to do that. So recently, this week, we have been working with Amelia, just reviewing the work plan for 2021. And providing that kind of information to the community is, in my opinion, what is the best ways to work in this goal.
Good. Okay.
And Emerson, I have to say, you have done a formidable job. You helped us complete the task yesterday. It's already added into the MicroProfile working group external drive, and we will tweet it and push it across the communities. We need the Latin Armada and Spanish communities to push it and bring it down, and you have contributed enormous. Now we have the Russian. After you completed that, you inspired Rustam to work on the Russian. So now he's working with Dimitri to do that. And they have finalized also that part. Is now welcoming the review for another week or so. So great job.
Yeah, regarding to a Slack channel, I'm there. I try to open another Spanish channel as well with the same purpose. So anything you wanna cover there anytime, just ping me and we can keep developing this line.
Good. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Kevin, for taking a note there as well. I'd like to move on to budget.
This one is quick.
Amelia?
Yeah, this
Okay.
one's quick. Yesterday on the MicroProfile marketing hangout, we discussed having a special call for the marketing committee on next Monday to discuss only the budget. There are 36,000 currently available that we can use for anything that has been mentioned or is listed in the program. But also there is the buffer of the $40,000 that is listed under the trademark that won't be spent. We do not know how much yet, but it's going to be a buffer added to the 36,000 that we can use at a later time. For now, we will work on distributing the 36,000 to bring it back to this call into the community. Everyone and anyone is welcome to attend. I will set up the agenda, and I will send a message. There is a current thread that talks about the budget, and that one will provide the update on saying what it's going to do. We have the version of the budget presented on March 15th have been translated into PowerPoint. Anyone has access to edit, but we want to use comments. And this has been stated since last week to this week. So the work starts for the budget review, and everyone is welcome. And we have the call to start the work. That's it.
Okay, on the call for Monday, at the end of this meeting, I have I want to reserve 5 minutes to discuss a couple of required items. One of them is how to handle Zoom meetings. So it's not posted yet with an actual meeting ID, but that'll get done hopefully later today. Once I discuss a Zoom option for us. Okay, yeah, I appreciate it, Amelia. You know, in the 40,000, you know, some portion of that is going to be spent on, you know, getting trademarks registered and everything, you know, legal issues, and we're trying to do as much as we can ourselves. So we'll see, you know, what is available to kind of move over to what is currently our discretionary budget until we allocate it. All right, thank you.
FYI, it's actually 62K for the design, and 12 of it is already assigned to legal.
Yes, the legal doesn't include. It's not included in the 40K.
40K is the non-legal portion.
Correct.
Just FYI, because the actual
point.
line item is like 60 something K, just so you don't get stuck with 40 in your head.
Okay.
I am only mentioning the 40 that doesn't include legal, but that's a great.
Anyway,
Yep. Marketing.
So I'll go again really quickly. Rustam is not here. He is the mentee of March. And then in MicroProfile marketing, we have this thing that we have been doing for a long time, but now we're able to do it more often. Schedule responsibilities. And every month there are different volunteers that decide to own all the work for the month and make sure that when something needs to be done, it gets done. It doesn't mean that they get to execute it. It means that they find someone that will be able to execute it. There are the completed tasks that has been done only for the last week and a half. And go down, John, and thank you so much for sharing. And one of the things that is so cool is that Ruslan and I have transferred the responsibilities to Tatiana, who is the one that chose April. And Ruslan is going with her to help her navigate the month. So there will always be at least 2 people. The coolest thing about the stewards or colleagues is that 2 are necessary. More, 3, 4 are welcome. So should you feel that you want to help on that side, check out the responsibilities, see if this is something that you care about, or help with the issues and tickets and see what else is there necessary to do. And that's it. It's pretty fun. And there is not one person that matters. If you want to help, you can help and create value by executing. That is what we do. And it's so fun to see newcomers. We have, and they call a minimum of 15 to 20 people showing up. Now that the working group in 2000 is behind, 2002 is behind, 2020 is behind us. So it's really cool. The most important task we're doing at the moment is contacting microprofilers like Andy, who is on the call, so that not only his API, the one that he's assigned to and working and passionate about, gets the Zoom IDs and also gets to write a Twitter media that gets pushed, that the calls are protected, that they get more diversity in those contributions.
Mhm.
Because in 2020, we noticed that there was an starvation in innovation. So now reset.
I apologize. Status.
The status done. But Andy, thank you so much. You are here. Emily, you're here. Edwin, you're here. I want to say thanks because without you, those things wouldn't happen. And we need to get moving, right? You need help.
And I'm going to make ask for a request. It is awesome that we have all these tickets available to track. I'm wondering if you could provide a link to this in the meeting notes here to the other one instead of having the long list in the meeting notes here.
Okay, I didn't know, John. I had a question about that. Let's delete it. The meeting is there. The agenda minutes is there, so we can delete all of this.
No, well, no, we don't have to delete it for now. It's just a request because there's a lot here.
Yes, we did a lot.
Due to the prolific marketing committee, or not committee, group team. So thank you. Okay, and good. Branding and compatibility.
Gosh, again, Tatiana and Devin have agreed to be the reviewers, as they have been doing before with all the work completed already. And we will start all the tickets for the trademark were moved from the marketing side to the working group repo, and we will start the work. That's it. We started the work, but we were waiting to talk with Tatiana and Debbie, and they have both agreed to continue to do the work.
Okay.
Once something is completed. It's pretty cool.
All right, infrastructure and website, David or Ruslan? Anything?
So I am almost finished entering the tickets in right now. I started putting them in. I mean, so I was so prepared before this meeting, had it all done, and then a dog ate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm putting the tickets in right now. I don't know if anybody else is doing this, but I was planning to go back to our community voices thing and get the suggestions that were related and throw them in because they had names on them, like who suggested. So it would be kind of nice to have a little bit of, hey, who thought this was a good idea, tracing.
Not a bad idea.
Anyway.
Okay.
So that's it.
All right. Technical goals, Emily, Roberto, or Edwin?
Yeah, we have the issues created, and then next week, Roberto, Edwin, and I are going to start the meeting to discuss the technical details.
So one thing I'm going to bring up is what I did is for each of these issues that are related to the program plan, I created a label called program plan so that we can click on the program plan, get all the issues across all of the categories and just be able to look at them. So an FYI on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are creating issues, for example, David, who is adding them, if you could also add program plan to any items related to the program plan.
I did that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. To the top level issues, at least we could figure the rest out later.
I have to say that on that one on Friday, I also added projects. Labels are great, but projects are also nice because we can add them in each ticket, and it creates a Kanban, and it's just super cool to follow up. It's just visualizing it. It's just my thing. Just FYI to everyone, you can apply projects to it and create new projects.
Yeah, I think I agree. So I think it's it's not almost like the other MicroProfile specs use the project. Basically, we can say it's a 2021 project program plan, and then next year is 2022. So we can see them clearly.
So you're saying that to add the year, which I say +1. John, do you want to own that update?
So have projects already been created? Budget.
It's more like a milestone, John. If you go to
Right.
milestone,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, create a 2021 program plan, and then like move all
Assign
these.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that idea.
Yeah, it's great. And one thing, I have to send an email that I said I will do it yesterday, but Mondays. The marketing working group repo is outside the Eclipse Foundation. The email that I'm going to send to the community will have an Excel sheet that asks anyone that wants to and wishes to contribute into the repo to provide his or her Git ID. With that, we will add the person as a member, and that person can not only create issues, but assign issues to anyone that is listed as a member. It means that because we have decided to use a repo, the repo doesn't comply with the rules of the Eclipse Foundation. You don't have to be a committer to have access to assign tickets. This is very important. So please watch for that email. It's coming as a, like MPWG and then repository, add yourself, and then the Excel sheet. Super simple. What I don't want to do is go and try to find every single Git ID for all of you. We're better than that. So I ask for your help because you don't want to miss out on working on this part.
Okay. Moving on to additional goals. So, there's a bunch of, again, there's an additional goals tag. Took them straight out of the slides, more or less, and added them. There's a couple of cases, I think, where there's overlap. And we could figure out how to handle overlap. But for now, for example, this one where we have branding and compatibility additional goals, defining what does it mean to be MicroProfile compatible. And this might also tie into other things like technical discussions and all of that. But so I've added them like technical goals. There's overlap right around innovation. Well, we have a couple of new specs being discussed. So those have been posted. Thanks to whoever posted the link to the meeting minutes. Specs, Emily and TBD.
So yeah, I created all these issues. So it's kind of, this one is directly talk about CCR as well. So I think it's good. I mean, tie in quite nicely with Andy's issue about the release process. So hopefully we can use this one to streamline our release process.
Okay. So that's kind of all I had with the status. We haven't really talked.
30 minutes. We did it, John. 30 minutes
Well,
is status.
Technically 26, because I started 4 after.
May I steal about 2 minutes of everybody's time? I just wanted to take this time to wish David Blevins a very happy birthday today.
Hey,
Oh, happy
congrats.
birthday!
Happy
Bye.
29th birthday again.
Yeah, I assure you I'm
21.
not 29. I am at least 29. Yeah, 45 today, yeah.
Oh, wow. You do not look 45, dude. Jealousy.
Thank you so much.
Let's see. I'm actually really 29, but hey.
You always say that, man.
Hard life, man.
Okay, all right, yeah, thanks, Chandra, for pointing that out. So happy birthday, David. So one of the things that we used to do as part of the status is kind of go through each of the compatibles, each of the specs and kind of do a status update. I decided to kind of hold off to let the technical team meet next week. And then maybe we could do a status update after the technical call. So that was just an idea. Unless there's anything urgent around the specs that people want to talk about.
I think that's a good idea, John.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Kevin. And I'm sorry, I'm scrolling up here to get to the discussions. Additional goals. Sorry. There are, maybe let's bring it up now to get them out of the way. There are two things. Sorry, I'm looking. I didn't move them to the bottom. I apologize. I know I'm scrolling around on the screen. It might be hard to follow. A couple of things I wanted to briefly discuss. There's going to be another CN4J Alliance call next Tuesday. And I will be posting that in the MicroProfile calendar to the CN4J Alliance list, to the Google group as well. Okay. Along with the logistics to dial in. Also around Zoom meetings. So Kevin and I were trying to figure out what's the best way to use the Zoom account across multiple meetings, seeing as it doesn't really have role-based access control with the type of account that's been created. So what we kind of came up with was there's still two admins to the account. We can create all the meetings and people can join the meetings and using a host code become the admin of those meetings. So we would share a host code with each individual lead, I guess, of that call, right? So 2 leads per call. So for example, this call, the marketing call, any individual spec call, the technical calls. What that means is replacing the waiting room area with the requirement that everybody has to create a Zoom account. So right now, for example, with this call, you can log in as a guest account, just type in your name and the meeting ID, and you could join the account without actually having to join the meeting, without actually having to create a Zoom account.
So
to
John,
use the host, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I thought that was only a requirement for the ones trying to use the host code.
Me too. I understood that, John.
Well, the problem is it's a chicken and egg problem. You have to have somebody has to start the call.
Sure.
Yeah, somebody has to start the call. And let's see, to be able to type in the host code, you have to be able to log in to the call. To log into the call, let's see, how do I say this? To be able to log into the call, somebody has to move you from the waiting room area to the call so they could type in the host code. This is what I figured out so far. And if someone knows better, let me know. But it's a chicken and egg problem, right? Someone has to take you out of the waiting room so you can type in the host code. That means right now only Kevin or I could do that, right?
I can follow up then, John and Kevin. The restriction comes from the Eclipse Foundation infra telling us that it's a security concern, correct? I thought that we had asked them to create a $50 a month a community where we control, it will be called MicroProfile, and it has up to 300 people that can join at any time. And once it's given to us, we control anything about this. Now, with the explanation you gave today, which is totally different to what I understood yesterday in the call, this brings a problem that I think we cannot handle. If we are asking every microprofiler to join and have a Zoom account, does it mean that they have to pay as well? Or
No.
That's free.
No, the Zoom accounts are free. I mean, everybody can, you can just get in. It's the, the administration part, being able to record, start meetings, because, we have to control who comes in somehow, because, we've already been hacked once. And so we need to control that somehow. So that's the management aspect of the meeting that we need to control. But getting a Zoom account is free for anybody.
Which plan, John, can you click the Zoom things? Which plan do we have?
I think the way it works is the Eclipse Foundation owns a top level account, and they can kind of create these sub accounts. I could be completely wrong, right? But Paul White actually owns this account, right? And he gave out under the Eclipse Foundation. So the Eclipse Foundation owns the account, and he's basically giving the password to someone to manage the calls. I don't know exactly which plan they have.
No.
It might be a top level plan. Do you know, Kevin?
Yeah. Actually, if you follow the link that David put out there with the MicroProfile ID, it shows that we are a member of the small and medium business.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's about right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's per seat, right? So I believe that's like $200 per person per year. Is that how
Well,
that works?
Yes,
There-
it's $10
When
a
I
month.
say person, I don't mean attendee. We got to be laser
Right.
focused on this. We're talking about managers of the account.
Exactly.
Who can schedule meetings, who can record meetings, right? So we have
Right.
2 seats.
No, what they did is they said, okay, for MicroProfile and any of the other working groups or PMCs, okay, here's your ID and password for that meeting. So we have one for MicroProfile, and right now John and I are sharing the ID and password, and that's why we come up as MicroProfile all the time, and we have to rename ourselves.
Right. So that would equate to basically $200 a month spent against our budget, or $200 a year spent against our budget. We have plenty of budget. Couldn't we just get our own account and then add, like, say, 5 seats on there? So at least.
Yeah. So that
You know.
that was, yes, David. And that was the other thing that John and I, we were talking about, is that would be another alternative is, go back to the Eclipse Foundation and even say, okay, whether we say 5 or maybe we say 10, the
Yeah,
number of
could
strategic
be, right?
members.
Could be like one per, like basically you could be like one per rep.
It doesn't
Right.
work that
You know what I
way.
mean?
You need at least 2 people by group.
Whatever.
Well, just-
Anyway, we have plenty of budget. We don't know what to do with a lot of it. So this is something that would make our lives significantly easier.
Well, in a way, yes, but we still have to be careful with sharing of those credentials.
Well, yeah, as I said, maybe if we had enough for everybody, we don't actually have to share. And so we can keep it safe. Do you know what I mean? So, like, how many people do we have in the steering committee now? It's like a dozen?
Yeah. 10,
Yeah, I think we're up to
12.
9.
Yeah, so like
Nine- yeah, 9
basically
or
9
10
times
times 2.
200, if that was our theoretical cost, 9 times 200 a
Oh, it'd
year.
be 18 because you need primary and alternate.
We
Sure.
have,
So
guys, we have 20 people, 10 members.
if we did at least one, right? Anyway, I said, what I'm saying is there's an affordable way to get this done that's pragmatic and secure.
So here's the thing. Is that a lot different than, well, actually it might be. Okay, sharing the host code, right? So you can have a host code where people can actually make themselves administrators, right? So if we shared the host code, 2 per meeting that we schedule, then people can log in as under their free account or whatever, type in the host code and become the admin of that meeting. They can record the meeting. They can end the meeting. What they can't do is schedule meetings and download the recordings. Now that's something that I could do, right? I mean, or in Kevin, right? We could schedule the meetings, which are pretty regular, right? And if if meetings want to be uploaded to YouTube, then that's something that, for example, I could do because I do it all the time. So that's the other option.
We could try it.
What
So let's
are,
just-
go ahead, Emily.
No,
Oh,
I'm
I
not.
think. Go ahead.
I think it's your turn. Sorry, I think Amelia called my name. Maybe Amelia means you.
I was also either of us, but you can go first.
No, I think. Go ahead, Edwin.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I saw the single sign-on there, and the company branding is maybe a added benefit. So if we do this, the hosting like we do it now shouldn't necessarily change. It just gets better, but we have better control of who accesses it. But I think personally that MicroProfile has grown with the working group to a level of maturity that having such a meeting base is not really that strange, in my opinion. And I think requiring people to join with a Zoom account is not that different as well, because we also participate with the GitHub account in the code. We also need that. So why not create a Zoom account to join the calls, which is free, if that's a barrier. So I think this feels right for MicroProfile right now.
And probably some people have already an account and a Zoom account, and you can easily create it. So I don't see the problem of having a Zoom account.
So then we stay with 2 people paying $400, about with tax $430 a year on infra. I have asked the Grid Foundation via the Excel sheet to tell us about the new costs, but I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's going to be not 400. It would be 200. We only have one account.
Yes.
All right. By the way, I don't know if you saw this down here.
Yeah,
Starting at 10 licenses. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're spreading that 10 licenses across the various different working groups.
Correct. You can add the minimum is to have 10. You cannot have lower under this group, and then you can distribute it. So I am saying that it's not that MicroProfile has to pay the 1,000 something. It is that we pay only for one license, and
Right.
we need to be sure of
But
that.
also if we had 200, if we had 2K coming out of our budget every year, I don't think that would be the worst thing.
It's not the price, and I do care about paying for something that we consume without being inflated. I do not like things
Wait,
like
slow down. I'm not understanding your feedback.
2,000. I understand for Crowdcast the price of 2,000. That's great because we help. If we were to do something like Jakarta is doing with providing different jobs of abilities to meet, that's wonderful. That will cost us a lot of money. But Zoom doesn't cost a lot of money. And I want to make sure that when we are charged, that we are not so generous to think that is the right price. We need to think critically and
Hold
also
on. I think you're trying to address a scenario I'm not talking about. You're trying to address a scenario where we get charged for something we don't actually have. I'm not referring to that. I'm just simply saying if we did in fact buy 10 our own accounts, our own account that had 10 seats for 2K a year, that wouldn't be the worst thing to do with our budget. But
exactly.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask a question here. I wasn't expecting this to go this long. I expected something different. And by the way, this isn't bad. This is a good discussion. Is this something that people want to keep talking here or have so we can hit, for example, Andy's topic? Or do we want to continue having this discussion here?
I just want to add one more thing here. Like,
well, hold on.
Wait.
There's a question on the table already. Do we want to continue having this discussion, or do we want to finish it in the community and let Andy kind of finish his discussion?
Andy.
Let's give Andy some time.
Yes.
Okay. So what that means is, I think for Monday's marketing call and next Tuesday's live hangout, we'll just continue using this dial-in and figure the rest out around Zoom in the chat. I'll take the AI since I kind of started this whole thing of adding it in the Google group, started chat off, and then let's move over to Andy. So who wants to kind of continue that discussion? I apologize. I'm not quite sure where we left off at.
So I guess one of the things we had talked about was that it was the CCRs that was the biggest thing, and it probably is the biggest thing. But when I'm looking at the spec release page, if you look at the differences between a milestone or release candidate build and release process versus the major, minor, micro final release process, there's about 10 additional items. And that's the kind of stuff. I mean, like I know Scott made the point in the email about it only being a few hours. It took me a lot longer than that. And I know I've talked with a couple other people that have done releases, and it's, you know, pretty complicated for them, and at least they comments like, well, I'm not going to do that again, kind of thing. So for me, I don't think it's an issue of having it documented or not. I think the wiki page is actually pretty well documented. It's really something that, I mean, from my perspective, I'd really just like to hand it off to somebody else. And if somebody else, you know, if somebody like Scott has done this and it's just a few hours for him, I mean, I'm in all seriousness, I'd buy him a beer at every conference we run into each other at. I mean, it's that big of a deal. And it sounds like it's only a few hours for him. So maybe, you know, maybe that's a great, you know, maybe that's a great synergy there.
I'll counter. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I would just counter a little bit that I don't think okay. So from my perspective, first of all, I will agree that there is some overhead with the process. But I think it's a required overhead, and I think the reasoning for this process is a good thing for developers to learn and understand. I know I learned a great deal trying to figure out the Jakarta EE specification process. I mean, there was a lot of stuff associated with these specifications, and I've been working with the JCP stuff for quite a while, and then all the Jakarta EE and now MicroProfile, and I just continue to learn about that stuff. And I think it's good education for developers to understand that side of the development process.
Well, maybe not every developer is keen on learning those things, and they don't want to get bothered with it, but that's another point.
Yes, and I would say that is a slight problem because we are working with specifications. So if you're saying that,
indeed,
and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody, but if you're not interested in learning that process, then are you really interested in learning about specifications? And I'm being very, I'm trying to get the conversation going.
Yeah, and I can agree on that. But okay, I did not release anything yet like this. So I only have a high-level overview of what is required, etc. But my idea is that if you do it multiple times, then it becomes easier because you know what you need to gather from info and what you need to put in those requests.
Yeah, right.
I can concur because I have had a few lessons from John with Emerson together to learn how to do that whole process. I'm also getting familiar through it, just following the steps and getting familiar with it. But it's a bunch of work that needs to be done redundantly, repeatedly, and of course it gets easier every time you do it. But to come in the middle with Andy, if he feels he is under pressure for something that needs to be released and he has not the time, or anybody doesn't have the time going through all the release steps, you can always reach out, and if I have time, I can assist and push a few buttons, for example. So I don't think we can fully automate the whole process away, or even if we do want that. but just saying you're not alone in this community. So if you need help with releasing, you can always reach out and I can possibly help, for example.
Yeah, I think it is a good point. Because we are going to do more technical discussion, etc. Maybe in that is help needed, and then is kind of I need help to do this release and etc. Maybe people will volunteer to help. However, I think the other bit is kind of should be all straightforward. So I think one thing it takes more time is CCRs.
Okay, so a couple of things. I've done a share amount of releases for the MicroProfile for stuff, and yes, it is painful because you don't know the process. But I think we also can iterate on that and improve it. So one of the few things I did was we now have a parent POM project with that each MicroProfile specification or API can inherit from, and that will pretty much handle all the paperwork that needs to be coming out as binaries from the project, like signing up all the things, creating the right headers. So that will help in making sure that everything is going to be fine over there. Now, regarding some other steps, I'm pretty sure that we can automate that as well, right? So we can do something that creates an email that sends something to send a vote, or we can we can create something that updates the GitHub issue. So that's not really a lot of those steps can be automated as well. The real pain point, like Emily said, and that's what I brought up in some of the issues as well, is this chicken and egg issue with the CCR, right, where you have to have like a compatible implementation ready to release, but you don't have an API in a public repository, so you have to juggle things around, and that's a pain. So I believe that once we solve that issue, and if we automate some of the other tasks, the release process is going to be more manageable.
I agree. So on that note, I mean, I did suggest that the project can ship an RC of the API jar that's identical to the one that goes up for vote, eventually goes up for vote, and then they could build the products based upon the RC, so that they could break the chicken and the egg. It's just a suggestion. We don't have to use it, but I don't see anything easier.
So one thing is, I'm thinking, I think with this RC, creating compatible implementation against RC, does help. The other thing is what I'm thinking, for the release, you could have keep this for 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and then eventually you could have a better release to replace this CCR. So in that case, you don't need to keep the old RC and forever. So you can use the final release and etc. So in this case, some other runtime can opt in to do the CCRs as well. So that's kind of further open the gate to get more compatible implementations to certify against.
Was that the suggestion, to basically use snapshot builds for the getting votes done?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
The obvious downside of that is that when we make our big announcement, MicroProfile 4.0, do you really want the whole world using those snapshots and asking you questions about them and profiling bugs and stuff like that against your issue tracker?
But I don't think people will the CCR was there for the release. I think I have not seen anybody download the CCR in Anger to use it. I think this is just to get the release out, and then very soon, as shown, like a 4.0 was out, and then shortly afterwards, Piara, Wildfly, Open Liberty all released. So it's a kind of it's a no shortage of the compatible implementations. So as we are creating compatible implementation website, etc., I think customers will look for the compatible implementations.
I guess the question I was asking is, in this vision, are we going to make big release announcements from the MicroProfile where people who read the announcements can actually try that version out that day? Or what's the plan for making announcements and to an audience who could then actually try the version out?
If they want, they could try the user snapshot. So again, it's kind of when we release for all this CCR is standalone. There's no kind of one thing is certified against all of the spec, right? So it's like a small certified, some Open Liberty certified, some there's no single like a product that is certified all of them. So there's no way to use one thing for all of the MicroProfile.
Isn't that something we're discussing doing?
I think that would be a kind of the compatible implementation. I don't think it is kind of, if we do something like that, this will push the release even longer and make the release even harder.
Does that mean that we shouldn't have a platform spec that has a compatible implementation?
I think it should come afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of somewhat leads into a topic that I had around a MicroProfile 4.1 release, which we don't have time to discuss here, right? So let's continue that point in the Google group, but kind of because we're running out of time, and I apologize for kind of jumping in here and cutting it short, but we got 1 minute left. Next week's technical call. So Roberto volunteered to lead that call. I would like to discuss maybe a platform release on that call, if that's the right call. Roberto owns the agenda. Roberto, did you have any thoughts about what you were going to talk about next week?
Well, yes, one of the obvious candidates was to resume the conversation of the Jakarta rename, right? But I think we can have like a split meeting, and we basically have one topic about trying to come up with the next steps about the Jakarta rename strategy, and the second one is to try to discuss the platform compliance level as you're bringing it up here. I think that could work.
Okay.
I think
So-
can I just add something more? I think is for that call, I would like to discuss the program plan. So that's kind of we should get a program plan as a focus.
These are great discussions to have in the Google group.
Technical goals.
Yes, yes.
Well, I
every-
mean, we can grab some of the topics that we want to discuss over there, and then come up with the final agenda in the day before or something.
and
Well,
Robert,
so
are you going to use these? Are you going to use a different minutes agenda for? We have this as the MicroProfile community hangouts. So what
I don't think that that's required to have like a separate document, but if people will prefer to have a separate document, we can set it up on a separate document. But
and again, this is a great conversation to have in the Google group. So, and sorry, what I'm really trying to get us to do as much as possible is have this be a status meeting. Yes, we had time left over so we can get into discussions, but to really increase the activity in between meetings, because that's the only way we're gonna, I think, move at the pace that we want to move. So, all right, thank you everyone for joining the MicroProfile community meeting /live hangout. Same bat time, same bat channel for the technical call in 1 week. And in 2 weeks, we'll have the community call again. The
No,
live hangout.
no,
So-
no, no. In 2 weeks, we have the steering committee call. There is no
Oh,
call for
is it?
another. So
Okay, so what I'll do is start a thread on the agenda for that call. So I'll take that AI. All right, thanks everyone for joining, and thanks for the reminder, Amelia.
and I really like this call. We made it in 26 minutes. That's impressive. Like update. Really liked it.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Bye.
You right.
Bye.
All right.